My name's Zio, and as you know, Kvaris is coming, along with a host of new skills and balance changes. Techter right now is in a pretty bad state. It does have some glaring issues in the offense department, as well as the support role it was meant to fill. So as always, I turned to my friends in the community for what they felt the class needed the most, and they did not disappoint. So, let's take a look at how we can make Techter great again. Before we get into that, we need to examine what exactly is wrong with it. For one thing, its main weapon is one of the weakest in the game right now. Yes, that's right, I'm talking about the wand. Compared to other weapons, the wand just hits like a wet noodle even with the elemental explosions. Now, they're supposed to be these badass clubs and maces, but instead they hit like those little plastic ones that little girls use when they're playing fairy dress up. Because of this, they're heavily reliant on weapons from other classes to do any meaningful damage. Swift Smash or Rapid Smash if you prefer got a buff recently, and while it's good, it's still not quite enough. In most situations, you're better off just using something else like, say, Jet Boots. So if any given skill or PA is nerfed, that's also an indirect nerf on Techter. This should not be. No class should ever have to rely on weapons from another class because their main weapon is inferior. That's just bad game design. Compound techniques were a much needed source of additional damage, but there's a bit of a caveat here. It goes back to the other classes thing since they also share these with forces, so if they ever nerf these in the future, that means an indirect nerf on Techter's damage too. On top of that, forces can fill up their compound meter significantly faster than a Techter could. This actually dovetails nicely with my last part, lack of any class identity outside of Shifta and D-Band. Their main weapon hits like a wet noodle, and is that 5% potency buff really worth taking over a class that just does higher damage naturally? Techter's supposed to be the party class, but why bring one over something else that just does more damage and lets you clear faster? So now that we've established what's wrong with it, let's see how we can fix that. So we'll start with the wand here. Let us keep our mobility whenever we charge a technique. There's no reason why we have to come to a screeching halt every time we start charging one. It also needs potency buffs across the board. While no, it shouldn't be as strong as a giant war mace, it also shouldn't be anywhere near as weak as that plastic fairy princess wand. Swift Smash should cover more distance and track vertically. The charged one could maybe cover a little less ground, but hit way harder. Maybe give it a third PA, something like Etoile's Black Hole Rupture from base PSO2. So what that did was suck in nearby enemies and deal damage over time. This would be awesome for PSE bursts. They could give it a charged form where the field covers a smaller area and doesn't stay up as long but deals more damage over time. So this would be handy during down phases. Photon Arts should also build up their imbued elements blotter clad skills. Rest of Science should have anti on top of that. If status ailments are going to play a larger part later on, then this is a no-brainer here. And then we have Shifta and D-Band. Give it a 10% potency buff instead of 5, and leave damage taken alone. I know what you're thinking here. You're thinking,
But yeah, that's just gonna make him use other weapons anyway.
it could be 10% for Techter weapons on the caster, but 5% or nothing at all for off-class weapons. The main idea here is to reduce their reliance on weapons from their subclasses. Maybe even give it a skill that buffs critical hit rate like in base PSO2. If they're giving us support skills from Etoile and base PSO2, why not give us recast save? What that did was reduce the cooldown of active skills for any party member that wasn't already in Etoile. And in that vein, overemphasis has way too long of a cooldown. Maybe cut that down from 300 to 180 seconds. So all that should reduce Techter's reliance on other classes' weapons and give it some semblance of class identity. The badass buffing cleric that isn't just there to make everyone else look good. So what do you guys think? What changes would you like to see? You know how much I love chopping it up with you guys in the comments section and on the streams. Twitch.tv/Zeomantic. Come on by and hang out sometime. We'd love to have you. If you enjoyed this, well, you know what to do. As always, thank you so much for watching and for the continued support. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. And remember, to thine own self be true. Until next time, farewell.